I kind of lay out the runs and then put the wire in the conduit and then put the conduit up.
So I went through and found every model number, all of the manuals, went through, figured out what size wire we needed for each one, and then Aaron made a list of how many feet we need, and now we're going to start installing.
So we have 18 gauge wire, 2-wire. So this is what we're going to use for our DC. This is going to be really low amperage DC runs. Typically you're going to do like your puck lights off this, the control power for like the stove, the fridge, things of that nature. So we're going to run this. We're going to run this for our puck lights. That's the first thing we're going to do. As you saw, we laid out the conduit. We're going to kind of lay out the runs and then put the wire in the conduit and then put the conduit up.
So for those that may not be light savvy that are watching this,
okay,
could you explain what a puck light is?
So a puck light, it's a real small little LED light. It's about 3.5 to 4 inches round.
Okay.
Low amperage, which means it takes just a little bit of power to operate, which is why we can use this really small, see if the camera can focus on it, this really small wire. So that's why we can get away with running an 18 gauge wire. It's a small wire.
Get away with? You're not supposed to?
So you want to run wire that matches the type of circuit you're going to have.
Right.
If you have a large circuit that's going to draw a lot of amperage, you want a really big wire.
Okay.
Now, could you run a really big wire to light the puck lights? Sure. But you have to buy hundreds of feet to run the puck lights. I don't want to do that with a really big, thick wire. One, it's going to be expensive. Two, it's going to take up a lot of space. And three, I don't know how we would like a 4-aught wire to an 18 gauge puck light wire.
Dear God, we already had an issue getting the 4-aught wire to them.
I don't know how we would connect them, right? So again, your wire that you run has to be appropriate to the circuits that you have. In this case, low amperage, just a little bit of current running through it, so we can use a really skinny wire. It makes it real easy to work with and manipulate and run, and it doesn't take up very much space. So we're going to go ahead and get started. My editor will probably do the fast motion flash quicksilver thing, you know, where we're moving like around.
Time lapse.
Time lapse.
I like your version better too.
I like my version better, but we'll do a time lapse and get started. Thanks for watching.
All right, so we have started the run for the electrical
Forward puck lights.
forward puck lights, which are going to be on a 3-way switch, and they're also dimmable. So right now we're just trying to get it to stay up until we can get a ceiling on there to hold it in place.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a switch right here next to our fridge. We're also going to have a switch all the way up forward up here. We're going to have 2 lights, 2 lights, 2 lights, 2 lights. With LED switches, or actually LED lights, we have to run them in parallel. So it makes it a little more challenging. You just can't do the quick, simple circuit or a series. So what we're doing is I run a traveler between the 2 switches, which is 2 wires. And then we were going to have the common, which is the hot wire, come from the battery setup or power setup. That's going to go into this first set of lights, okay? And then we're going to run it in parallel to the next set, run it back in parallel to the next set, back in parallel to the next set, and then one of those wires goes to that forward switch. The other wire, the ground, not really ground, the neutral wire goes to the second switch. So that's the way the circuit's going to be set up. I use a real simple
Flying thing.
hello, Mr. B. So that's how we are running. Hope you can see it pretty decently there. Maybe we'll take a picture of this or I'll send you the link. But that's how I'm running our lights. Hey, good morning. So I'm back at the bus. I'm solo today, just me. Last video we hung up our 18 gauge wire for the puck lights right above me, right above my head. Not this wire over here. Okay, that wire right there. All right, and I've been doing some research and I forgot something. Something I should know. So when you're doing DC wire, you have to take into consideration what's called voltage drop. The longer the run, or the longer the wire you use, the more voltage drop that you're going to have. It's not as prevalent within the AC circuits, but in the DC circuits, it is. I took that into consideration, but I forgot an important part. The voltage drop comes out from, in this case, it's going to be our bus bars, and you have to count both sides of the circuit. So if you have a circuit coming out 25 feet, the voltage drop that you calculate isn't for the 25 feet. It's for the 25 feet coming out and the 25 feet coming back. So it's a 50-foot drop. What does that mean for us? It means the 18 gauge wire isn't thick enough. It's not. We're going to receive too much, or we're going to have too much voltage drop over most of the circuit. So we have to upgrade to 16 gauge. We just have to. It's okay. It's all right. So what we're going to do, well, what I'm going to do, is I'm going to take down the 18 gauge that we put up, and we'll put it off to the side. We may or may not be able to use it for other stuff. I think it'll be sufficient for like control wires, where you're monitoring different things like the stove, fridge, stuff like that. I think the 18 gauge will still work in that application. But for the puck lights, we're going to upgrade to a 16 gauge wire. So that's what we're doing today. You can tell how happy I am, but at the same time, we've got to do it right. That's the most important thing, is safety. This is going to be our home. We want everything to work. We want everything to be safe. We don't want to have like a higher resistance in our loads, so that's why, crimps have to be good. You want to have proper wire sizing, things of that nature. Hopefully I can get that all done today, because again, it took me and JoJo a good couple hours to get the 18 gauge up, although I have a better idea of what the circuit needs to look like. Oh, let me show you what I got for wire. All right, so I got a white and a black. Now they're both 2 gauge, but it's real easy you can just strip it apart. So that's what I'm gonna do, is since the black 2-wire, white 2-wire, but they don't have any indicators of which one's like positive and negative. So we're just gonna take these wires, we're gonna strip right down the middle. It's kind of set to do that. And this is our 16 gauge, 2-wire, 250 foot stranded. That's what we got. It's the same thing, just different color sheathing there. So that's what we're using. When JoJo and I did this, we used crimps, and we put 2 wires in one side of the crimp, 2 wire in the other side of the crimp, because again, with the LED circuits, you need to run them parallel. I'm gonna see if these are any good. I saw these in the store. I watched a video or two. It's called Inshore push and wire connectors. These kind of look interesting. This has 4 wires, or a 4-port, to where, and that's kind of what we're using. That's what we did with the crimps. We made it 4 wires. You had the wire coming in, the wire that's continuing on in the circuit, and then we needed 2 wires to come up to here and to here, right? Because we want to keep it in parallel. This should let us do that a little bit easier. Now, I don't know if it's going to be any good. I have not tested the product myself. So I'm going to get it in there. I'm going to get it right. And then we're going to do probably like a destruction test on it to see if this is a good product or not, at least for us. We'll test it out. I'll let you know what happens. Okay, so I'm gonna work on this. While I continue to work on this, I'm gonna listen to some music. So unfortunately we can't have the music and the video at the same time. What I'll do is once I'm done, I'll take you on that virtual tour and I'll show you what I did. Stay tuned. All right, guys. Good afternoon. Well, yeah, it is actually afternoon. As you can see, we've got more wires put up. What we're doing is a two-way switch. So how this works, I'm going to take you through it real slow. No, don't think I'm smart. It's taken me way too long to figure this out. We have positive, or a hot and a neutral. Okay, DC, they use a little bit slightly different terms. I'm always used to positive, negative, but DC, they like hot and neutral, I think. So that's coming out of where our battery bank is going to be, our bus bars. That's going to be our power station over there. Okay? Right along that wall where we've blocked it off. That's coming in. It's going to run through all of the loads. So if we think of the white wire up here as the source of the power, the black wire is like the return. Okay? I was in the Navy. We did it backwards, so don't judge me. But that's how. Let's think of it like that. So again, our white wire, that's the power coming from the battery. The black wire is going back to the battery. We want to make a circuit. We want to make a loop. Okay. We want to go from the positive battery terminal to the negative battery terminal. So the white wire's coming in. It's going up to all of our loads, which in this case are going to be the puck lights. And I'm sorry that this phone's getting heavy after being out here most of the day. So it's coming up to all these puck lights. It's going through the puck light. That puck light acts as a resistor, and that diode gives us light. From that, it goes into the black loop, that black loop. So it's going to do that for the entire series along the bus. So it's going through the white wires, through the puck light, out the black wires. Okay. We're coming all the way up to the front here. When it does that, the white wires, let me get the camera in the right spot. The white wires stop here. They don't continue forward. All right, ignore that white wire right there. They go, again, it's going up into the load, across into the black wire, back down, and it's going to come down to our switch. The switch, and it's coming in this wire right here. Our switch then, because we're using two switches, it has these two wires, or what's called travelers. So these travelers connect to the switch here at the front of the bus. We're going to come all the way back down here, right to where our fridge is going to be. So we have those two travelers. That's what this little spool is right here. Those two travelers are going to come into the switch. From the switch, we're going to have one black wire, and it's going to be this one right here. That's going to go back to our power source. So again, with the electrical circuits, we want to make a loop. I'll be honest, this took me a minute. Let me get my finger out of the way. I'll be honest, this took me a minute to figure this out. This took me a long minute to figure it out. It shouldn't have taken that long, but that's okay. It's been a long time since I've dealt with Trons. So we've got it back up. We've got 16 gauge. 16 gauge. It's thicker. It's going to be a better wire. It's going to be safer. It can handle more amperage for the distance. Now, I told you we would try these things. right? You put the wires in there, and it has kind of like a channel for the wire to go through, and it almost like a self-crimping. They didn't work with stranded wire. The stranded wire, I think, wasn't rigid enough to get deep enough into it. I couldn't make it work. I tried about a dozen times. It just didn't happen for us. So we had to go back to our normal crimps. Again, so we have our normal crimps. I put 2 wires on each side inside this, so that gave us the connections. Let me turn the camera around and I'll show you. It's been a really erratic video. I'm sorry. My video skills are a little lacking today. So again, we use the crimp. Here's our crimp. We've got the black wire in and out, but because we want this to be parallel, LEDs need to be parallel. We also have 2 black wires coming up our rib and going towards the loads. And you can see we also have our 2 white wires. So we're doing the same thing there. So we have 2 circuits in parallel there, 2 circuits in parallel there. Same thing with up front. Everywhere we have the lights, we have 2 circuits in parallel. So we got the up there. One last thing I want to say is when you're working, just working with the bus in general, if something doesn't seem right, if it looks off, it is. Someone used to call it the common sense test. If it doesn't look right, it doesn't look like this is what it should be, do some more research. Just like I did with the 18 gauge wire, didn't look right. It just didn't look like there was enough copper there to do what we wanted to do, even though it was low amperage. We did some more research, found out I need to go to the next size up. Had to redo it. That's all I got. Besides, my beard's really getting just kind of wild. I'll have to trim it up. All right, team. Thank you very much. Friends, family, like, subscribe, share, comment. If I've got this wrong, comment, let me know. All right, bye. All right, gang, good morning. Back at the bus. About 2 days later since I hung the 16 gauge wire up here for puck lights. Still working with the electrical, but we have our AC boxes for the 120 volt. And they need a vertical support or piece of wood basically, like this right here, to screw into. We didn't do that. When we did the sides, we only did on the bottom and then 2 pieces of wood, and then up top 1 piece of wood. My junction boxes don't connect to that. Maybe if I turn them sideways. It's an idea. Instead of having it up and down, I could do it sideways. So for today, what we're going to do then is I'm going to grab those AC plugs, and I like that idea. Let's, instead of mounting them vertically, right, your 2 plugs up like this, we're going to mount them horizontally. So the plugs are going to be like that. And what we're going to be able to do is use this existing board that me and JoJo already installed, and we'll put them right here, right up underneath. And I think that's going to work. I think it's going to work good. Stay tuned. Light's not very good, but we'll get there here in a half second. So we bought those shallow boxes because we knew we didn't have a lot of space, that we didn't have a lot of depth in between the wall and the foam and the skin of the bus. So we bought shallower boxes. These shallow boxes, and they have 1 punch out on each side, and that'll tell me where I need to run the wires. Keep watching. So what we're going to do, you still see me up there, right? I'm far away. Pretty sure what's going to happen here is we're going to have a 1 butt seat here, and you're going to be able to move forward or side. So if we're driving, the person sitting here can also look forward, so they don't get car sick. And when we're parked, they can turn sideways. So it's kind of Over here, we're gonna have our couch. Our desk is gonna be here. I believe we're gonna put our computers here. So we definitely want one of these right there. That's a given. And another one right there. So I'm winging this because we kind of figured this out, but we kind of didn't, but that's okay. And I'm going to put one of these all the way up front. That actually is probably going to be vertical. And the reason they're going to have to be down there is we're going to have the desk maybe sitting here. Getting to up underneath that desk is going to be a pain in the butt. It's going to be better kind of on that mid-level. So I expect the cords to be, they're not on the ground, but they're just above it. If I cut out the foam, mount it permanently, and then try to run the wires, that's going to be a pain. I need to have the wires, I'm talking to you guys, so I'm planning here with you, okay? I need to have the wires run. Heck, I need to have the actual receptacle already installed, the wires run into it. Everything's good, then mount it, and then take this slack up into our channel. Okay, all right, that's what we gotta do. I'll tell you what this is. 12-2, so this is for our AC. See right there, we have positive, negative, and a ground. In a heavier row mix, I like it. This looks good.